Now we are joined by Rich Viola. Rich, thanks for sitting down with us. How you doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Good.
Really good to sit down with the two of you.
Thank you.
I have been a fan of the show, admiring what you do, and first time we got a chance to really sit down and chat a little bit.
Absolutely. So, Rich, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at BITAC?
Well, it started 21 years ago. Founded the concept of what BITAC is. And it was actually by accident. It really started. What happened originally at BITAC is we started one of the first online web applications, which was Hotel Interactive, with the intention of getting a daily news resource instead of magazine out to the hotel industry. And then we said, we'll take advertising, but is there something else we should be doing? And the more we spoke to our subscribers, they said, maybe there's a different way to do conferences. So we were covering conferences, we were covering trade shows, and came up with a number of things that are maybe to create a different kind of conference experience. And there's so many different aspects getting into it. But what's really interesting more than anything is how things have evolved. When we thought we were originally just trying to do something a little different, maybe a little more productive, I think BITAC today is probably more important than it even was 21 years ago than we started. It is so important in terms of communication. Communication has become a premium. It is harder and harder to reach people. And people say, how come people don't call me back? How come people don't respond to my emails? How come people don't respond to my texts? Because we're so overwhelmed with stimulation. It's now become 24/7. We never totally disconnect from our smart devices. So it's not that people don't want to respond to people. I think they don't have really time. I don't know if you're seeing the same. Are you guys seeing the same?
Yeah, no, so I would say, you know, with some people I've even talked to here, but I've talked to in other situations, it is, you know, when I first left the hotel business and got into tech, there was some technology, the internet was taking off, but now there's so much information out there that I think people just almost tune out because it's just too much. So for me, that's what I like about this event. So what would you tell somebody who couldn't be here why they should be here at Vitech?
Well, I think it's about quality time.
Yeah.
You know, you go to events and people say, you know, you build relationships.
Yeah.
Exchanging a business card, shaking a hand is not really building a relationship. And I think that the word connectivity or connect with someone is being slightly abused, so to speak.
Right.
Because it's not about a keystroke. It's not somebody accepting your LinkedIn invitation. It's really getting to know people. Because that's what it's about. We spend so much time at work. Unfortunately, more time working than playing.
Yeah.
Although we all want to change that.
Yeah.
And some people doing a better job than others. I'm not there yet. I'm trying hard. But it's getting to know people. And I think what BITAC does is go below that surface to truly build a relationship. At our events, you're not just meeting people, you're living with people. You're spending almost 3 days living with people, getting to know them, you're dining with them, you're doing different activities, but you're really getting below the surface. For example, through our roundtables. It may seem simple. So we say basic things like talking about where people are from originally.
Right.
What's your background? What about their career a little bit? Usually when you go to an event, you see somebody, you say hello, you shake their hand, and you see them 6 months later, a year later. How are you? I'm doing great. How are you? But are you really getting to know that person?
Yeah.
So what we try to do is do different experiences. It is somewhat organic, but we give kind of a format or form where we lead people by giving them trigger points and opportunities, a forum to really do it without working so hard at it. We make it easy for you to do that. So for example, there was somebody from me coming to our event and, initially I'd see this person, He was the president of a major hotel company. How are you? How have you been? Great. How's the family doing? Great. He didn't even know who my family was. I didn't even know who his family was, but it sounds good, right?
Yeah.
And, how's business? Good. Everything's okay. You know how it is out there, whatever. But because of kind of the round tables we do within the event within the event, and we have the assigned seating at every meal, small groups, and we have these opportunities. So I too had that opportunity with this person whom I knew for 7 years and found out where he was from originally. And it turns out he was from the adjacent town where I grew up. He lives on the West Coast. I live on the East Coast. I still do. But I had no idea. And the questions went on. Like, okay, that's great. You live there. And I don't want to say, what year did you graduate high school?
Right.
Because I didn't really want to tell what year I graduated high school is really the truth. So we got into this conversation, and it turns out that, we graduated the same year from high school. I said, no, I didn't want to tell him go how deep or how he looked or how I looked. That's another story. But then we got on with the conversation a little deeper. And he spoke about how he loved playing soccer. He played soccer in high school. I said, so did I. And he says, so what school was it again? And I said, yeah, in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. He said, yeah, I went to the same school. He said, what year again was it? And I told him, and he said, wait a minute. We played one another in the county championship game.
Wow.
I remember this. And wait a minute, did you play defense? I said, yes, I did. He said, I remember you. I said, no way.
Goodness.
I don't remember me then. And it went on from there. So that our relationship was totally transformed to a different place. And because of that, our business relationship also was enhanced. It took it to another level. We were able to go below that surface, not just because of the personal side, it led to the business side. So we really had more meaningful discussions, and we could really found out we could help one another a little more. And it wasn't so difficult to say, hey, Rich, what do you really think of this?
Right. Yeah.
So it was fun. It became fun. And that's what we do here. We're creating friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
great.
it's so funny you tell that story because almost the exact same thing happened to our producer, John. He was talking to somebody, realized they're from the same town of 700 people. So
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
700 people. And how would you have known? You don't.
Exactly. So this is what I think is so unique about the culture at BITAC. This is my first one. But, now we're interacting over online, LinkedIn messages, communicating that way. And here we're actually in person, having real conversations. And sometimes that type of culture can be hard to get people talking when we're used to being behind screens so much. What do you think is so special about BITAC where people come out of their shell more and do open up and just be a little bit more personable than if they're at a more traditional conference?
Well, we share up front with people. We said, this is not going to be your mother's or your father's or your cousin's conference experience. In fact, there's other events that do one-on-one meetings. They exist. There's a lot. It's become mainstream. When we did at the time, there weren't many. They really didn't exist. But it's changed because it is an effective way to do business. But that's not what makes BITAC unique. Anybody could do a one-on-one conference. It's everything else. So we tell people up front, like, for example, if someone is a hotelier, we say, if you're going to an event to exchange business cards and kind of network, this is not the event. If you're looking for an event that really could be a transforming experience to take your organization to a whole nother level, but you have to step out of your comfort zone, which is not easy to do. It's not about standing up and puffing out our chest and sharing our stories, the corporate stories. It's going below the surface. And we say to people, if you're willing to take that step, I promise you it will be worth it. We've had people come to the events and they kind of put their head down, even though we tell them this, and they look at our reception line, at a meal, what we do. And at first they're saying, yeah, hi, how are you? welcome. By the time the event's over, they're smiling. And favorite thing, like the assigned seating. The last meal, sometimes we keep an open forum with, let's say, open seating, the last one. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We have an owners event that really true owners come to the event. We've had owners and CEOs say, Rich, where do we sit? I said, well, it's open seating. He goes, I don't know where to go. Well, go with some, you'll meet, so who does somebody you bond with a little more? This have sit, or sit any place, you're welcome. So it's more of a culture
Yes.
than a conference.
Yeah.
And it's an open culture. It's a welcome. It's not cliquey. You know, not at all. And that's what people tell us over and over again. It's not about a clique. And by having small groups of people, 6 at a table, no more. And I've seen events where they say, oh, yeah, we have a networking breakfast. You walk in a room, nobody's there. And then when they're, you know, people take their scrambled eggs and they take their fruit and they take their yogurt and they take it down. It's like Forrest Gump on the first day of school.
Yeah.
You know, where do I sit? On the bus, right? And I don't care if you're the most aggressive, if you're Tony Robbins. No one likes to say, walking up to a table and just say, you know, here I am, you know, who are you? It's so much easier for all of us to look for people in the room that we know and feel comfortable with. And the reality is that's going to inhibit our growth. And growth is not about some textbook. To me, we learn from one another. Books are great. There's some amazing books out there, but really it's truly getting to know people, seeing their smile, finding out who they are, and celebrate who they are. And that's what we try to do, is celebrate people and give them that voice. And sometimes people get dominated. You see other events, you have one person's a little more aggressive than the other, and that's great. And everybody kind of looking at that and they're kind of holding court. And I get it, because some people really just, people gravitate to those people. But maybe that's not so comfortable for everybody. Maybe they have something to say. And that's what really BITAC is, that we try to achieve. And people say that we indeed do that, and it doesn't get old. So by having that voice, out there, by doing it in small groups, one-on-ones, small groups of people, and mixing it up a little bit and forcing people to say, no, you're going to sit here in a nice way. They love it. They love it. And it's not just that. You know, even the way we do game night, right? We do game night. I've gone to events where game night is, let's say, please, hopefully no one listens to this and gets offended. I've heard events where they did tug of war on the beach. Could you imagine professionals putting on a, you know, bathing suit and getting on the beach and having a tug of war and falling in the sand? It's real, people. It's happened. And it has happened. No, we want everybody to feel very comfortable. And I don't care if you're 20 years old or 75 years old. It's all the same. So we do things that are different. There's other things they do. Let's say, you know, other games that they have. And let's say they think, oh, let's do, I don't know, casino night's a famous one, right? Or scavenger hunt. I'll say scavenger hunt. We early on did scavenger hunt, but we listened. Surveys are important. It's important for us to listen to. So we did early on in history, we've done scavenger hunt. And people say, oh, they were amazing. But some people can't walk. You know, they have trouble. Maybe they're having a problem with their knee. And I'm not talking somebody, again, because of age. I'm talking somebody who had maybe a sports injury.
Sure.
Or just pulled a muscle or whatever it is. And they can't. So how do you do things that everybody feels comfortable? That's what we try to do constantly. Is trying to things that make people feel very good and celebrate who they are, because business will come. First, build that relationship. Get to know people, make it personal at first, and business is secondary. And you know, what's really interesting out there is the companies we work for are important, what we represent, but the real issue is each one of us are really the brand. We're the brand. You represent yourself. You are the brand. And we step out there. That's what it is. And I love when people, come to this event and we see them 2 years later with another company. And the reality is because it's still them. And those relationships carry forward. So we make it fun too.
Yeah.
We really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the one thing, having been at this a long time, two things that you said that really stuck to me is just making people feel comfortable and the kind of the willingness to learn. So one of the things I loved right away last night, when you basically made people feel comfortable by telling them, go sit next to somebody you don't know. So that kind of right away gave them that opening. And I remember I had a C-level position at a company, I won't name the company, and we had a holiday party.
Yep.
And I went and sat with all the developers, and all the senior managers went and sat with them, the people that were at every meeting, every week. And the next day, the office manager came up and said, hey, just so you know, everybody noticed that you went and sat with the other people. And that's kind of who I am. But I think that's what I felt like last night, and I felt today, that everybody's just really comfortable here.
That's a really good observation. And what you did with the developers,
Yeah.
and afterwards, how good did that feel? And how do you think those developers felt? That you took the time to step away and show them that level of respect and got to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, it's interesting. We learn so much from one another about different things, but really helps. And sales to me is not selling. Selling is listening and problem solving.
Right.
That's what it really is.
Yeah.
And you give people a forum. And some people, like right now, you sit down with someone, and let's say you're a CEO of a company.
Yeah.
Your own staff sometimes is reluctant
100%.
to really speak what's on their mind.
Yeah.
So I think that there's another thing that's kind of crazy, but in today's world, it makes sense. People have told us people feel safe to be themselves. Safe to be themselves. And this may seem kind of crazy to say. We had an event we did like 4 years ago.
Your meeting,
And it was two partners in a design firm.
Liz, work on wrapping up your
And
action.
these two partners were gay, and they were married. And two of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. Great. And when they first came to our events, though, they were quiet and reserved. They were the same people. And then after their first event, the game night and all this. But a couple of years later, they said, Rich, I want to share something. Say we decided to re-exchange vows. And they said that, our family still has not accepted us. So we had a little celebration, and we only had about 30 people at our celebration. Out of the 30 people, 25 were from your event.
Wow.
Because we felt the most comfortable.
Wow. That's great.
We felt the most comfortable in your situation, even more than our family. So when people say, hey, welcome home or family.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it could be overused,
Yeah.
but it really could evolve sometimes that people have that sense of family.
Sure.
Don't say, I don't want to insult anybody, say your family, but if you have a sense of, at the event at least,
Please
have each other's backs, and then really take that a step forward.
Thank you.
And people may not do business the first event, everyone, but we love the stories that people say, and I wasn't ready then, but now I am, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah.
So it's more, like I said, it's a cultural experience that we try to create. And we want people to feel more than safe, that they feel that they could totally be themselves in an environment without being judged.
Absolutely. And you feel that when you walk in here. It is a very open environment where you do feel safe and you want to connect with other people here because everybody around you, it feels like they're best friends. So it's like everybody that you talk to is so open and welcoming. So I am so excited for tonight. This is my first game night, and anybody that knows me, I love leisure sports. Bocce ball, mini golf, those kinds of things.
Right.
What can I expect at game night tonight?
Well, a lot of drinking,
Okay.
a lot of alcohol, but it's actually, no, it's fun. The reality is most people, no one's getting really intoxicated.
Right.
You know, I'm joking around, but it's more competitive than you think.
I love it.
So basically, you meet somebody and say, you know, they mini golf and they sink a 6-foot putt right on their team. Team high five. Then you turn around and they say, you know, I've never played golf in my life before. Never. I said, wait a minute. You never went to mini golf? No, I didn't. And basically say, and I love it. In fact, I'm going to do this. And then, you know, some of the other things we've done, you know, whether it's the Jenga or some of the other things they do.
Thank you.
It's the competitive DNA. And some of those folks, like that person who sunk the putt, she goes, I want to win. I want to win. Come on, you could do this. And it takes the relationships to another level. When you kind of go to war together, and I mean, we're saying nice, but people have fun.
Oh, I bet.
It's fun. It's really good fun where people say to themselves, they encourage each other. And the other thing is, we work way too hard, all of us. And we're so connected. They don't have many opportunities to do anything like this. And then when someone said to me, well, she goes, oh, we have this big barbecue every year with our family, a big family barbecue. And, you know, I'm not that good at cornhole. But, you know, I got to tell you something now. I'm motivated. I never played. In my family, they won't let me play. I'm the person they make sit on the sideline.
Yeah.
Because he goes, but now I got the confidence. BITAC gave me the confidence to go home. I'm going to buy a cornhole set. I'm going to practice before. I just wrote it off. I'm not a cornhole player.
That is so funny.
And it's that kind of thing that puts a smile on my face. So it's not BITAC. When people say, yeah, BITAC, Rich, you and your team do this or you do that. The way I do this, and I don't know if you heard me say this, the way I like to describe BITAC, it's more, think of this, think of a stadium, your favorite stadium, and think about during COVID,
Oh, yeah.
it was empty. There was no excitement. There was nothing happening. There was no music being played. BITAC is that stadium. We try to bring together, we're just a forum. We try to bring the right people in the right environment so they can make music. And we love the music that they make, not us. They're making the music. And that's what makes it work. Because we just allow people to make music the way they want to play it. I don't care if it's country. I don't care if it's rock and roll, hip hop, classical. The music comes together nicely in a really nice symphony. And that's, to me, the most rewarding part. It's not the success stories of business, because that we know that happens. It's the success story of the relationships that we love to hear. They say, you know that we met somebody at BITAC, and do you know now our families go away together once a year? And it wouldn't happen if it wasn't BITAC. And you heard some stories on stage today.
Yeah.
You heard a few of those. Same kind of thing. That, to me, is the greatest level of satisfaction, is knowing that in this stadium, there's some nice music being played.
That is great. This has been great. So I think, you know, first of all, thank you for having us. It's been great talking to you. We've had a great time, and we're hopefully going to be at another BITAC soon.
We hope so.
All right. Thank
Dave,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep making your music.
All right. We will.
Thank you. You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for watching or listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Modern Hotelier Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a good guest, sponsor, or have media needs, feel free to reach out to us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. Thanks and have a great day.